Welcome to our Excel VBA tutorial series. In our previous video number 14, we delved into automating data entry and formatting tasks using Excel VBA. In this video number 15, we're shifting our focus to user forms. So, get ready as we take you through how to create user forms in Excel VBA, a step-by-step guide. User forms in Excel VBA make your Excel applications user-friendly. They also offer a custom dialog box for data input or display, making your Excel applications more interactive. In this tutorial, we'll learn how to create a user form, add controls like text boxes and buttons, and write VBA code to make these controls operational. Let's start by creating a basic user form. To do this, open the VBA editor using the Alt+F11 shortcut. In the Project Explorer window, right-click on your workbook name, navigate to Insert, and then select User Form. An empty user form will be created in the main area. Now let's add some controls to this form. We will need the toolbox. If it's not visible, enable it by clicking View and then Toolbox on the menu. This toolbox provides various controls such as labels, text boxes, command buttons, etc. For our example, let's add two text boxes and a button. Click on the text box control in the toolbox, then click and drag on the user form where you want to place it. Repeat this step to add the second text box. Similarly, add a button using the command button control. Now, to make our user form more user-friendly, we'll label our controls. First, click on the label in the toolbox, then click and drag on the user form where you want to place it. After placing the label, right-click on it and select Properties from the context menu. In the Properties window, change the name property to first number. We do this to establish a simple, clear identifier for this control, and we avoid using spaces because they can lead to errors or confusion in our code. This name first number will be used when we want to refer to this label in our VBA code. Next, change the caption property to first number. The caption is the text that users will actually see on the screen when interacting with the form. In other words, caption is for human readers while name is for the VBA code. Next, right-click on the text box and again select Properties. Then change the name property to TextFirstNumber with no gaps. Repeat these steps for the second label and text box. Right-click on the second label and select Properties from the context menu. In the Properties window, change the name property to SecondNumber with no gaps and the caption property to SecondNumber with a gap. Then click on the second text box properties and change the name property to TextSecondNumber with no gaps. Now for the button, change its name property to Add Button with no gaps and set its caption property to Add. Alright, now we have a form with two text boxes for number input and a button to perform an action. The next step is to add functionality to our button. Double-click on the Add button and you'll be redirected to its click event in the code window. Here's the VBA code for the button click event. You can find and copy this code from the video description section. This code declares three variables, num1, num2, and sum. It then assigns the values from our two text boxes to num1 and num2. To ensure accurate numerical calculations, we use the CDbl function to convert the text box values to the double data type. This function allows the program to interpret the entered values as numbers. The CDbl function takes the values from the text boxes and converts them to their equivalent double data type. This conversion is necessary because the values in the text boxes are typically stored as text, and performing arithmetic operations directly on text could yield unexpected results. Once the values are converted to double, the sum of num1 and num2 is calculated and stored in the sum variable. Finally, when the Add button is clicked, the result is displayed in a message box. Now that our user form is ready, we need to show it to users. For that, we'll create a new subroutine and use the show method, like so. Let's now move on to how to make our user form more accessible to users directly from the worksheet itself with the use of a button. This can greatly enhance the user's interaction, as they won't have to manually run the VBA code. Let's start by moving the ShowForm subroutine to Module 1. This is required because Excel cannot see the subroutines located within the user form code when assigning macros to buttons on the worksheet. To move it, simply cut the subroutine from the user form code and paste it in the Module 1 code window. With our ShowForm subroutine now correctly placed in Module 1, we can proceed with binding this subroutine to a button on our worksheet. Go to Developer tab, locate the Controls section and click Insert. From the drop-down menu, select Button, Form Control. This allows you to draw a button directly onto your worksheet by clicking and dragging with your mouse. Upon finishing the drawing of the button, the Assign Macro dialog box will appear. This box lists all the available macros or subroutines in your workbook. Scroll through this list until you find the ShowForm subroutine that we've moved to Module 1. Click on it to select it, and then click OK. After the macro is assigned to the button will initially show a default name. But you can give this button a more descriptive name for a better user experience. To do this, right-click on the button and select Edit Text. Then, replace the default name with something more fitting, like Open Form. So, with these simple steps, we have created a clear, user-friendly way for users to access the form directly from the worksheet. Whenever the Open Form button is clicked, the ShowForm subroutine will run, displaying the user form, and the user won't need to navigate into the VBA editor themselves. Having clicked on the Open Form button, you can see that our user form has successfully launched, demonstrating that our setup is working as expected. You'll notice the two text boxes for number input and the Add button, just as we designed it. Let's go ahead and test the functionality of our form. We will input two numbers of our choice into the text boxes. For this demonstration, let's use 10 and 20. After inputting these values, we'll click on the Add button. A message box should appear displaying the sum of the two numbers. In our case, it should state, the sum of the two numbers is 30. If you see this message box with the correct sum, then we can say our user form is functioning correctly. In case you faced any errors or the form did not behave as expected, don't worry. Revisit the code and check for any typos or errors. Remember, debugging is a natural part of programming. That's it for this tutorial on creating user forms in Excel VBA. Together, we've journeyed through the process of crafting a user form, incorporating controls, and injecting functionality into those controls. Equipped with these fundamentals, you're now empowered to construct your own bespoke dialog boxes. Always remember, when working with VBA, to save your workbook as a macro-enabled file to ensure your VBA projects are preserved. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more tutorials. Happy coding, and I'll see you in the next video.